Welcome back to ReadingBear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
First one is titled, "Force me to take 2 weeks of unpaid time off? Have fun running the place without me." I used to work at this one coffee shop, my first chain coffee shop after working only at local or family-run ones. Simply put, it was hell. Owners would micromanage everything without knowing anything about how the business ran, never listened to their staff, and only cared about the money. Typical out-of-touch owners of a business. I was hired to replace a manager that had walked out of one of their locations, leaving it with only part-time staff. I was told I was being hired on as the acting manager until they either hired someone else or they felt I would be a good fit for the position after my 6-month probation. I won't go into everything that went wrong because there's a lot, but to summarize, it was literal hell. I was expected to cover all no-shows, which had me working 90 to 100 hours a week. I wasn't allowed to fire anyone no matter how many things they did wrong. Someone actually showed up to work drunk and I still wasn't allowed to fire them. And any changes I wanted to implement were shot down, like replacing old parts in the espresso machine, shortening our hours to save money on labor, bringing in items that customers would always ask for. I was stressed, overworked, and irritated as hell when the owner comes in to talk to me about sales for the store. We weren't making enough to warrant the hours I had scheduled and he wasn't going to pay me any more overtime. I would only work the hours I'm scheduled, and if someone no-showed, I had to have someone else cover those shifts. I tried to explain to him that I only came in when no one else would cover. It just so happened that the people he allowed to continue to work here had terrible availability. Making the schedule was already hard enough, getting someone other than myself to come in on their day off was next to impossible. On top of all that, I had to learn the ropes myself. There was no one to train me, so all the managerial knowledge, ordering, scheduling, I learned myself. No one other than me knew how to order coffee, had the numbers for the repair guys, anything other than making coffee and using the till. I was the only one that knew. He wasn't hearing any of it. "Owner, all I'm hearing is excuses. This is your store. If you can't handle running it, I'll start looking for someone who will." Me, wasn't that the plan though? It's been 3 months since my probation period ended and you never gave me the manager position, so I assumed you were looking for someone to take over. Owner, I think it's in your best interest to take some time off. Start thinking about your position here and whether you actually want to start moving up. I had mentioned in the interview I was looking forward to working my way up in the business. Me, I can't. There's no one to cover me. Owner, you're taking this time off. Me, is this a paid break? Owner, no, consider this a timeout for you to get yourself sorted. Take the 2 weeks to rest and we'll see what your position will be like when you get back. Me, owner, I can't really afford to take that amount of time off. I can't even take 2 days without having to come in and cover. Owner, don't worry about the business right now. It'll run without you. Now, to put into perspective, I was basically the manager at that point. I made the schedules, I did the orders, and I knew the codes to the safe and the alarm. I wasn't allowed to hire someone to assist me and no one worked enough time to be able to cover even half my shifts. I knew this, the staff knew this, and customers knew it. I made sure to block all work numbers and spent those 2 weeks looking for another job. I managed to find one after a few days that paid significantly more. I sent my resignation email to payroll and the owner, knowing he never checks it, deleted my account off the POS system. Being a manager means I have access to it from home, and spent the rest of the leave catching up on well-deserved sleep, having blocked all work numbers. I'm not getting paid, so I'm not working. According to my co-workers, crap started going wrong the next day. One of the openers didn't show and the next staff member didn't have keys. Owner wasn't answering his phone, so they left a message. Owner didn't show up until one of the regulars called asking if the place was closed down. He showed up 4 hours after they were supposed to open. Orders weren't done, inventory was missed, 4 no-shows, you name it, it went wrong. Owner tried every way he could to get a hold of me, even using a customer's phone to call me. Too bad I didn't answer any calls that weren't in my contacts already. After 2 weeks, I turn my phone back on and get a call the same day from owner. We agree to meet the next day. Owner: so, you've had some time to think. Me: I have. It's really given me perspective on my position here. Owner: we can start you back on your normal hours for now, and we're looking for a manager to take on more of your responsibilities. Me: oh, that's good. I'm actually quitting. He was silent for a few minutes. I think he was waiting to tell him I was kidding. Sucks for you, buddy, I'm serious. Me: I've already emailed payroll and removed my login from the computer. Here are my keys. Good luck. And I left. Owner tried calling me a few times but stopped once I told him to check his email. I was on okay terms with some of the staff that worked there, and apparently majority of them had quit after I had left. Owner did find a replacement pretty quickly, but without anyone to train them. Owner didn't know anything about running the business. They were ducked from the get-go and left pretty soon after they were hired. My petty butt is always checking reviews from customers and employees, and they have consistently sucked for the past year and seem to be on a downward trend over the past year. Edit. This particular job I had was soul-crushing, and I'm lucky to have a story like this to share with others that have gone through similar crap. If someone is dealing with an owner similar to this, I highly recommend brushing up on your knowledge of your local labor laws. There are sadly way too many owners that try to get away with crap like this. To clarify a few things, I'm from Canada. Forcing me to take leave was not actually legal of him to do. I was tired and so worn down that I just didn't want to fight anymore. I took it as a gift of all the days off I missed from all the overtime I worked, and that was it. For those wondering about whether or not I'm owed overtime, thankfully I'm not. Another manager task I had was organizing hours and submitting them to payroll. Owners didn't have control over that. The managers, along with me, were in charge of that. There was a rule in place where we had to get approval from the person who made the schedules for overtime, and that was me. So I got paid my overtime. Even if I did have some money owed, I personally just want to leave it be. It was hard enough getting my last paycheck from them. I didn't want to put any more energy into these guys than I had to. Next one is titled, "My car was a lot cleaner than that when you towed it, I want it washed." Oh, I'll wash it for you. We towed a blue Chrysler 300 for parking in a loading zone. It sat in the lot for around 2 weeks getting rained on and dusted by wind, so it went from blue to a dirt color blue. In the evening, a really irate older man screams saying we stole his car and he wanted it back. By evening the office is exhausted and you either get a duck out of here and come back with a better attitude, or else, or B, whatever, dude, just pay and duck off. He got option B and I was tasked with fetching the car. As I put his car outside, I catch his wrath about the car looking like it's been in a junkyard and demands we wash it inside and out. I already wasn't in the best mood and was debating about luring him to the inside of the lot where I could legally kick his butt without getting a charge. But I was too tired for that plan. I told him, I'm not going to wash it, just rinse it off. That settled his butt down, so I took his car back in the lot and closed the gate. We have power washers and then we have a power washer. So strong it'll rip pavement at full power. I turned it to the lowest setting and hooked the water up to a water tanker we fill using straight river water for hosing off mud off the rescue vehicles. I put liquid wax in the soap dispenser and blasted the crap out of his car from 10 feet away. It was spotless and shiny, but what he didn't know is I peppered the duck out of his car with river silt and used the wax to put a thin film over it. His paint is fine as long as he didn't dry it with a towel after. I rolled his car back out and he was happy. It was shiny and he went on his way, not knowing the surprise he was going to get in the morning. When the wax dries it turns hazy and the silt under it makes the car look dirtier than it was. You basically have to soak the car and wash it by hand to get that shit off without damaging the paint. My boss saw the whole thing and wrote me up, but he said it was just to cover his butt if it backfired. He never came back. The second time I saw the car in our lot was 3 to 4 years later, had the whole passenger side covered in primer with mismatched window tint, and was picked up by a younger kid with the same last name. Next one is titled, "Customer is always right." Background: I used to work for a big blue and yellow company in the automotive center. I actually worked with guys who were in tech school for automotive mechanic certification, so they actually knew what they were doing and I learned a lot. Anyways, to the story. A customer came in and told us he needed new tires on his vehicle, but just 2. His vehicle was AWD and we told him he could not just replace 2 tires. He complained and got a manager. We didn't have an automotive manager at that time. The manager was your typical, what customer says goes, kind of manager. So obviously we did as we were told. Wanting to cover our butts, we made sure to document it that we told him he shouldn't do what he wanted us to do and had him sign it. We had a comments section for this reason. He signed off us noting that the tires were something like 5 or 6/16 difference and that is not recommended. A few months later, same dude comes back with the vehicle and the bill from a repair shop claiming that we messed up his vehicle by putting on only 2 tires and neglecting to mention we told him we can't do that. He was explaining this to a different manager and I happened to walk by as they were about to get on board with corporate to figure out how this guy was getting paid. Remembering this guy's douchiness and arrogance, I pulled up the work order he had signed and cleared my throat to the manager after I had printed it out. "Excuse me sir, isn't this your signature on the work order?" "Yes, I had to sign to get the work done." "Yes, but you also had to sign off on us putting on only 2 tires after recommending that you don't do that. After which you blew us off and signed this to have us do it anyways. It's all in the notes. We told you that doing so could mess up your transmission." Sadly, the manager still got him corporate and paid out as they would rather save the customer and reputation than do what an actual shop would do. Not the first time and wouldn't be the last time that we did as the customer asked and noted that we were doing as we were told. Because you know, the customer is always right. Next one is titled, "No Magazines for Me? No Magazines for You." This happened years ago. I work in an adult male correctional facility. As you can understand, it can be a stressful and sometimes fast-paced job. On the flip side, there is also a time it is rather slow and tedious. The inmates in this particular unit were locked down 23 hours a day, and were restrained and escorted when they did come out, i.e. yard time, phone time. This area had a control room that served as the hub of the unit where I controlled all the doors and watched the monitors during yard time. The room had no computer, and no direct view of the inmates unless they were out of their cell. When yard times were done, there was literally nothing that I could or needed to do except open an occasional door. Therefore, I would bring a book or magazine to get me through the day. Of course, this did not take away from any duties as I didn't read until all the work was done. It's important to know, this spot was worked by numerous other officers who would also bring a magazine to read, then leave it in a drawer for other people working the spot. Nothing lewd, of course, just cars, video games, outdoor magazines, etc. None of the supervisors seemed to have an issue with the practice and would even come in once in a while and grab one for themselves. That was until Roberts came along. He was a newer supervisor and I guess wanted to show the great things he was going to do as a new supervisor to the higher-ups. He came onto the unit his first day and seemed to inspect the area, then came to the control room. He opened the drawers and found the small stack of magazines. "Roberts, are these your magazines?" "Me, 1 or 2 might be mine, but they are communal, you can grab a couple if you want." "Roberts, this can be considered contraband and should not be here. Since this is your area, you need to keep it clean of stuff like this. Now gather them up and get rid of them. If I see this again, you'll receive a write-up." "Me, all right, no problem, you won't see it again." I put the books in the library area with Roberts' smug face watching me the whole time. To be fair, he told other staff as well to keep it clear. The very next day I come in and check the drawer. There is a stack of magazines with a post-it note on the top one that says Roberts. My first thought was he was trying to set me up and I wasn't having it, so I threw the magazines in the trash. Later that day we had an inmate flood his cell and water was going everywhere. So to keep the downstairs area from getting wet, my partner placed the trash can that had the magazines under a steady stream of water pouring from the upstairs. I didn't even think about the magazines at this point, just to get the incident under control. Later, Roberts comes in, makes a beeline for the control room, comes in, opens the drawer and with a puzzled look on his face asks, "Roberts, where are the magazines?" "Me, what magazines? All I found was contraband." "Roberts, I told someone to put magazines in here with my name on them so I could grab them later." "Me, that's not my problem, you told me to keep this area clean so I got rid of them." "Roberts, so you put them in the library?" Me, nope, I tossed them in the garbage. Roberts, why the hell would you do that? Me, I figured after the warning I received yesterday, anybody stupid enough to leave magazines in here would know they could be potentially written up. So to keep people from getting in trouble and to make a point, I threw them away. Roberts, but they had my name on them. Me, I couldn't be certain they were yours or if you were setting me up. I put the magazines in the library as a courtesy yesterday. Today was to ensure I complied with your directives. Roberts, well, what garbage can are they in? I pointed to the trash can with water still dripping into it and his face dropped. He goes to trash can and pulls out a stack of saturated magazines. He heaves them back in the trash, then proceeds to the recording room where we can view video of what has happened on the unit. He makes a big show of his investigation. Meanwhile, I tell him there's no need for an investigation, I threw them away. It was an unfortunate turn of events, they were destroyed. Of course nothing came of it and he gave me a wide berth for a while after that. Next one is titled, I have to pay for gas for the car I barely drive. Okay. When I had graduated high school, I got a summer job that started early in the mornings. My older stepbrother, who was still living at home, also started a job early, but the days he worked were sporadic. I was going to get a new, used car before I started college in the fall, but for those few months would have to share the station wagon with stepbro. Outside of work commute, I never used the car because he would be out partying with his buddies every night. He'd just sleep at work where he was supposed to move boxes. We were supposed to alternate filling up the car, even with the unfair use, but he'd always lie about filling it up last time and my stepmom got on me and said, you use the car, so you have to pay gas. After that I never drove that car again. I got up at 4 a.m. every work morning and rode a bike to and from work. Then, the time came for the car to be filled with gas. Step bro, hey, it's your turn to fill gas again. I filled it last time. Me, nope, I haven't driven the car once, I've been riding a bike to work. He was stuck with his signature stupid look on his face and looked at his mum, who was mad and about to say something until my dad said, that's right. She hasn't been driving, buy your own gas. My stepmum bit her tongue but looked furious. Stepbro still looked like he'd come across a difficult math problem he couldn't solve. Edit, want to clarify this was 10 plus years ago. My stepmum and I have a better relationship, though a little sad. She feels bad about her difference in treatment but will never admit it or apologize to me for it. I look back on this story and laugh, but when it comes to my feelings for my stepmum, I care for her, but also feel sorry for her. Stepbro and I are not on speaking terms due to bigger issues. Next one is titled, Force me to take my vacation time when I don't want to, and tell me to secure my station by freshening up my passwords before I go? Okay boss. To start with, my boss had his moments. Sometimes he was a dick who would push off me on my razors or screw with my system. Sometimes he would hook me up and make my life pleasant. This was not one of the latter. So, I had plans for vacation, but my boss decided I had to take my vacation time in June instead of August because he wanted to take his vacation in August and no other time would work. I lost some money as a result, but that's my fault for planning ahead, I guess. Well, I'll start by saying my position was vital, and being gone for 2 weeks, with nobody able to access my terminal, was not ideal for the business. After forcing me to take my vacation early, and losing a chunk of my deposits, he told me to change my passwords before I go for security reasons. Well, that is exactly what I did. I didn't leave notes, it's a security system. I don't leave passwords laying around. I didn't leave anything for his part-timers to work with. I did precisely as he demanded. And when I go on vacation, my work phone does not ever get turned on. I straight up left it at home. I told him on the way out the day before that if he has questions, ask them now. He said, I know what I'm doing. Apparently, while I was gone 2 weeks, his part-time techs ruined the server system, destroyed my work terminal, managed to screw up and lose several clients, got my account hardlocked, was easy to fix. And all around, cost my boss about $100K in damages, profits lost. Most of these part-timer techs were fired for the amount of property damages they did. For the life of me, I can't figure out how they ruined so much tech while I wasn't around. I still don't know how he runs a business. But he stopped giving stupid requests like that. Quick edit, he also had another master admin account I set up for him. But he lost the information I made for him, on a handy little laminated wallet card. So, last one is titled, Chili Not Hot Enough? Not my story, but my grandfather's. So when my grandfather was young, he got a job as a cook at a small short-order diner. This diner had its usual menu, but also carried a daily special. And one of the specials was chili. My grandfather told me about a regular that came in every week on chili day, but would always complain that it was never hot enough. So my grandfather, being the mischievous person he was, made his move. On one of the regular chili days, he came into work a bit early to get a head start on the chili. He made the usual pot and set it to simmer so to be ready for the day. Then he dished out a special bowl of chili and added a bunch of extra spices, chili powder, etc., and then set the entire bowl on the back of the hot grill to simmer all day. By the time the regular showed up asking for his chili, the bowl was so hot that my grandfather had to deliver it to him with potholders since it would have burned his hands otherwise. Unfortunately, I never got the end of the story out of my grandfather, since he would laugh so hard that it was mostly unintelligible. And since he is no longer with us, we may never know. But one thing was certainly clear between the laughter, that his regular customer never complained about the chili ever again. Thanks for listening.